My name is Buti Tlhagale, the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. Lent is a time when the Church invites us to reflect more on what we are invited to be as Christians, as human beings. A special time for being charitable towards others. A special time to make a little effort, especially amongst the poor and the needy. And so Lent invites us to take away from ourselves what we normally enjoy and try and share that with those in need. But this particular Lent would like to reflect on the migrants and refugees who are in our country. If we look back, we find that they have suffered a lot at the hands of their fellow human beings here in South Africa. And surely that must be a disturbing factor in our lives. And so, for example, the gospel invites us to welcome strangers in our midst. Now, I think we need to go even a little further than that. Consider those who come into our lives as brothers and sisters, as members of our families. People who have left their countries under duress, who have fled persecution, who have fled wars, who have fled from hunger from their own countries. They have been so desperate that they've had to make the decision to go and find better opportunities elsewhere, to find opportunities for themselves and for their children. And so they come into our country as people who have been harassed, tortured, unhappy, but full of hope that probably we would become a host country that will help unburden them. Now, the Premier of our province here in Gauteng has been suggesting that other countries should make a contribution towards the health payments of people coming from the different countries. And so somehow or other we do not try and find ways of making them at home. The hospitals have been given instructions, even though this is controversial, have been given instructions that they should charge all migrants and refugees who come into the hospitals for services. And if you think about it, these are people who really do not have money. And one would have expected more sympathy, more compassion from our leaders. Whilst we welcome migrants and refugees, we also note that there may be some amongst them who give the rest of the migrant communities a bad name. Those who are involved in drug trafficking, those who are involved in robberies, who come from the community, from the migrant communities. We think that these ones give the migrant communities a bad name. We are invited during the season of Lent to remember that we too were once strangers in Egypt. And many South Africans, some of the South Africans have actually been in foreign countries during the apartheid days. And that experience should actually soften our hearts, that we never can tell what will happen to us as a country in the future, and therefore should always be grateful to the generosity of other countries and indeed seek to reciprocate what people have given us in the past. People have come to this country with great hope. And so the gospel reminds us this Lent of the generosity of Christ, who suffered and died so that we in turn might be people who live in hope. Hope to be joined, to be welcomed into our Father's house. But also remembering that he was a man who, during his life here on earth, did charitable work among the needy, fed the poor, gave health to the sick, make the lame walk. And these gestures of generosity are given to us as examples for ourselves, that we too should aspire to become a people that is compassionate and understanding. Now, the Gospels have many parables that talk about generosity. And in fact, if we look at the Gospel, the one single message that seems to make sense is the love of neighbor, and that we should treat others the way we would like them to treat us. And so if we put our mind to it in our parishes, we could collect the many things we don't use in our wardrobes, collect them, give them to St. Vincent de Paul or to charitable organizations to distribute amongst the refugees and migrants. We could also try to think about giving employment, even if it's partial, to some of them, so that at least they have an income to be able to take care of themselves. These are the things ordinary people can do, and this is what we're encouraging people to do. At times, they don't have places to meet, just to be together. We have church walls and church buildings. Surely we can make these available to them so that they feel they belong to local communities. Many children who come from outside South Africa without papers are considered stateless. And we can go out of our way to assist in their education and get professional people to assist in acquiring papers for them. Get the legal fraternity to help persuade the government, at least to ensure the future of these children by giving them identity papers so that they can get the education they need and perhaps even eventually becoming citizens of the country.